So yesterday, Memorial Day.
Yep.
I mean, we had theoretically a long weekend.
Yeah.
But it was, for us, at least at our house, it was long in the sense that we had like graduation-y things to go to, like fun ones. But just busy. We were on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I was so excited because it was the first Memorial Day other than COVID.
Yes, right. As a pastor.
Yes.
Like Texas Annual Conference United Methodist pastor.
That's right.
We don't get a lot of them.
Always get to go. I like going to annual conference. I like going. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's always on Memorial Day.
And by the way, that yap wasn't in agreement. It was that yap as in, yeah, I know you like to go.
Wow. It's like a family. I see so many friends.
Yeah.
And I get to see my friends' families too, because it's not, often they all come.
Yeah.
And
that part is fun.
So sometimes that's the only way I meet some of my friends who serve like further out. That's the only way I see their kids.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
I have fun with my friends. No, I'm not an elder for a reason. I don't enjoy meetings. But I do enjoy seeing my friends and clergy and lay alike. But we didn't do that yesterday.
Yeah, we got a real Memorial Day.
It was super fun.
It's great.
Yeah, we did a little bit of yard work, but not strenuous because it was hot.
It was hot.
I'm unhappy about the weather. And then we went over to a friend's house, and they grilled steaks, and they made veggies that my kid actually ate, which was magic.
Yes.
And the kids played in a little splash pad thing, and then they rode bikes in the cul-de-sac, and it was super sweet.
Yeah.
And just very I don't know. It was just, it was one of the things I love about living in Katy, that we just get to spend time with friends and do relaxed, fun family things.
Yeah.
Send the kids upstairs to play in the playroom while the adults sit downstairs.
Yeah.
Is that bad that I love that? I don't care. It's true.
It's great.
What'd y'all do?
Well, as you know, we were down in Galveston all week last week, so that was nice. So
I did know that.
We honestly, I did some yard work.
Do you like yard work?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Generally like yard work.
Okay.
Yeah. We had our filter on our pool broke. And when I mean broke, it split open. I'm not sure what happened, but it split open and water drained, and it was.
Ooh, that sounds very negative.
Yeah, so that wasn't good. But I did some yard work. I did some inside work. So it was kind of productive in some sense.
Yeah.
A lot of housework, which was fine.
Yeah. But y'all got some rest last week.
We did get some rest last week. Yeah. So all leading up to it was nice.
Yeah.
Down at the beach.
Sometimes it is nice. I always think I should spend one of my, some of my vacation time where I just work on house projects because they sit on my brain and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The front porch light has been out for months. And it's you're I'll get to that eventually, someday. And then you're you get it done. You're how did it take me months to change out a light bulb on my front porch? So
let me tell you about my front porch. I don't think that people can see this from the road anymore. Because we have those columns, so we've hidden them. If you actually walked up to my front porch as of last week, there was an Easter wreath on the door, a Santa Claus hidden behind the pillars.
Nice.
And the inflatable from Christmas also kind of bunched up and hidden behind the pillars.
You're the little grove in The Nightmare Before Christmas. You're
yes,
all these little
because there's a fall doormat also.
Just pick a door.
Yeah.
Pick a column.
Because we don't use the front door very often unless I'm just walking to church.
Yeah.
And so I just don't ever think about it. And right now it's Mosquito Alley right there for some reason. And nothing I have found has been successful in treating that. And so, short story, if you come to my house, please come to the back door.
Duly noted. Everyone.
We're backdoor
Your
people.
backdoor. You are now backdoor friends.
Yep, everybody.
At the Newcomb household.
Absolutely. Please don't come to the front door. I'll just be embarrassed.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah. But it was the kind of restful, we slept in actually yesterday. I'm remembering this. We slept till like 8, which I know not everybody feels like that's sleeping in, but it is when you have a 2-year-old.
Yeah, for sure.
That was late for him.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And then we didn't have to be anywhere fast.
Yeah.
So we just hung out. I don't think we got dressed till like 10:30. That is late.
That's great.
It was great. It was very restful, which is what we talked about in worship on Sunday. So let's talk about it some more. All right, let's do it. Well, I'm Becca. I'm the pastor of Family Ministries here at Katy First.
And I'm Mark. I'm the senior pastor here at Katy First.
Welcome to the Katy First Family Podcast, where we offer ideas, inspiration, and encouragement to help you and your family grow as joyful disciples of Jesus Christ. This week, we're talking about Sabbath and rest. Yeah, that's what we did.
And you preached.
I did.
So you can give us the recap on your sermon.
You should rest. The end.
And here it is.
That's it.
Take a rest, y'all.
Everybody just give it a rest.
Yeah.
I struggled to figure out how to talk about Sabbath, partially because I'm not very good at it sometimes. So don't want to get up and like lie.
Yeah.
Right? Or make it sound like,
yeah.
Which I don't think that's bad. I think we all have like pastors are, it turns out, people with like things we're good at and things we are not good at.
Yeah.
Things we're learning.
Yeah.
But what I am absolutely certain of is that we are people and not machines. And I think sometimes we see rest as a reward for the things that we do.
Yeah.
I've been so busy that I have earned this break. And if we live like that, then we really miss out on a lot of beauty and a lot of goodness that God is trying to offer to us.
Yep.
And that is swirling around us all the time. And if we're moving too fast, we just miss it, which felt like a Ferris Bueller quote all of a sudden. And and then also I think that if we keep moving that way, even when we're pursuing really good things, that we just inevitably end up at burnout or compassion fatigue or something. You have to have some rest, and it's not a knock.
Yeah.
Nor is it like a badge of honor to be so busy, which I didn't really talk about on Sunday, but I do think that's an important piece of it is to not think, hey, I'm so awesome because I just keep going and going and going. I think especially with like the culture that we live in, our pursuit of excellence can sometimes outstrip our understanding of what it means to just be like finite people, and that be a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it's great to do your best. I had a therapist one time tell me, I may have told you this before, I may have even said it on here, but it's worth repeating, that it was in like a group session when I was in my internship in seminary. And she was like, well, you wouldn't, if you broke a leg, you wouldn't expect yourself to just like do all the things that you've been doing before because your leg is broken. And I was like, you crazy? Because
I'm doing it.
I would absolutely just drag that leg behind me. And then when I realized that was my instinctive thought, I realized how unhealthy that is. Yeah. And so learning and trying to really ingrain in myself that rest is an invitation. It's a gift.
Yep.
It's not a reward.
Right.
You don't earn it.
Yeah.
Has been I think a really healthy practice, and one I think that it's like we're coming into the summer. What a great time to talk about both intentionally taking some time to rest and do things that you love with yourself, with your family, whatever. And also like really setting that, like take the time while we have these weeks to write it into your heart, into your brain, into your family culture so that when the fall starts, you're ready to kind of go into it with a renewed sense of like, we're going to work hard and we're going to learn and we're going to do activities and we're going to rest.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good point. That may help my sermon next week, but
Here for you, bud.
I loved, so the two things that particularly stuck out to me, I really liked the idea of the rest in music as necessary to the full experience of a full piece of music. And, you talked about how we often are the viola trying to be the conductor person.
First of all, it's a viola.
Viola.
But I'll allow it.
Viola.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you're in the third chair.
Oh my gosh. But it's like the most true thing.
That was hilarious.
I thought my parents were there on Sunday.
I was watching your parents' faces. You were just describing. I was like, I want to see how they are receiving this.
Because listen, let me tell you that nobody in this world works harder than Donna and Richard Hyde. And did it frustrate, especially my dad, that I would not practice more? Yes.
Yeah.
But like, I was just, and thank goodness, like, I had this awareness as a kid that I then lost as an adult and have had to kind of go back to, of like, you can do a thing just to enjoy the thing.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be some world-class, orchestra player.
Yeah.
I wanted to play with my friends.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of the music. I didn't need to star in it. And I got to do all the same trips as the first and second chair.
Yeah.
I got to, you know what I mean? Like, I got to do all the cool things and spend time with my friends. And I was still, like, we had a pretty good, I grew up in Spring. I went to Klein High School. We had, like, an award.
Shout out.
Yeah, Klein. We had a really good orchestra. I don't know
what's Klein. What's your mascot?
Bearcats.
Klein Bearcats.
Yeah.
Rawr.
I don't know how to feel.
Is that what a bearcat does?
I honestly don't
know. Is a bear a cat or a bear?
Do you know what a red panda is?
Yes.
No, it's a bearcat.
Like literally?
I think it's the same thing.
Oh. And what's a red panda? Do we know? Other than what
you mean like
May turns into?
Nice. You mean like what classification
We're way off
is
the
it?
topic right now. I'm sorry.
So much editing for me. Thanks. I don't know. I really don't know.
So I thought that was good. Like it's not like the whole what I heard you say, as you've already stated, it's not a reward. It's a necessary part of the whole piece of music.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary part of the whole flourishing life.
Yeah.
Is rest. And you have to have it. And when we try to resist that or whatever, we've moved into a conductor role and we're bad conductors.
Yeah.
We don't know how the music's gonna. And I like that imagery. I also liked when you said how sometimes you act like you're resting just because you put on pajamas, but then you just do all the same work.
Yeah.
But like I could relate to the idea of it's like a faux Sabbath. There's faux rest. And it's so easy to act like you're... And we do this on vacation sometimes too. Like we go on vacation and we take our computer and we never actually are on vacation with our families. Mm-hmm. Right? Like mm-hmm. that's probably the more way that a lot of us accidentally... faux rest.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was so true. Like I'll put on my pajamas, but then I still am working mm-hmm. just as hard and not being intentional with like.
Yeah. And I think it is different, like for different people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to super call out, like people who genuinely struggle to just sit down.
Yeah.
Because I do think rest looks different for different people.
Yes, rest doesn't have to be silence. It doesn't have to be a nap.
Right. Like Stephen, the way that Stephen would want to rest is some silence, some rest, like a nap. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense for who he is. I could do that for a little while. But like if I was, like I would not enjoy a vacation where I do nothing the whole time.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be doing something productive. I think that's the thing. Like, mm-hmm. And one of the things I think in like learning to rest is like pursuing hobbies. We don't do that. That's like a whole other thing, which I didn't talk about. But I feel like especially as adults, we don't have hobbies. We have chores. We have responsibilities. And cultivating a hobby can be a really good way if you want to rest, but you don't want to just sit there and like contemplate the cosmos. You know, painting, gardening. I mean, all of those are physically work, but they are mindful and they're not a chore. I mean, I guess gardening might feel like a chore to some people. I really enjoy it. I don't feel like, I mean, mowing, I think would, for me, classify as a chore, but weeding for me does not. I enjoy that. And not in the weird way of being like, I love folding laundry and no.
Yeah.
Folding laundry is always a chore. And if you need to discuss that with me further, then we can have that conversation. I'll buy you a cup of coffee or a lunch if we need to talk about it. But like, I just think that like, if we found things that we loved to do that were good for us for our mental and emotional well-being, then I think that would be classified as rest, even if you're doing something. Yeah. You know? It is, I think it's tricky. Rest is tricky. And I think some things that make it difficult are that it feels like a reward. And then I think the other piece of it too is just like, how do you, I feel like we're so good about lying about like if we were restful or not. Or, you know, I'll be like, yeah, I rested. And I also did like 3 loads of laundry or, you know, because you can do some things quickly. And listen, I get that there's sort of a middle ground there. Yeah. I mean, family life goes on. I'm never not, if Samuel's in the house or with me, I'm never going to be able to just totally turn the like sort of working part of my brain off. Yeah. I have to feed him. Yeah. I have to make sure he's safe. Yeah. You know, I have all of those things. Yeah. And that's okay. That's part of family life.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I was, so I did the children's sermon this week.
Yes, I remember. You did a great job.
And I was like, there was like this moment where I was like, rest is like for a lot of kids outside of wonderful Annie sitting next to me, that's like not a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and not, it's like, you want me to take a nap or be quiet or stop? Like, yeah, you know? And so it's like, oh man, it kind of hit in a different way because I haven't normally had to talk about the idea of Sabbath with littles. I've done it with youth or adults. And so that just like realization of like, what's it mean to talk about Sabbath with a kid who the issues in their life mostly isn't working too much or doing too much. There's always exceptions to that. Yeah. It's like, don't make me take a nap at 2:00. I don't want to. Yeah. I want to keep going. I want to keep having fun. Yeah. Like, but this idea of translating Sabbath and rest into the life of a child and cultivating that was like kind of like, oh yeah, it was a realization of like, that feels very different.
Yeah. Because we have family Sunday school. We had mostly preschoolers yesterday for whatever reason. We played like freeze dance. You know,
I saw some video of this.
It's really cute. Yeah. So like they would move around and then the song would be like freeze and they had to just stop. Yeah. And that was kind of how we talked about it with them is like, that's still part of the game is to stop sometimes. Yeah. It's still part of the fun because there's a lot of FOMO when you are little.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to miss anything. Yeah. But I heard a phrase, this is old now, but like several years ago, they started using JOMO. Have you heard this?
No.
The joy of missing out. So FOMO is the fear of missing out. And JOMO is the joy of missing out. Okay. And as somebody who is a little, just slightly more on the introverted side than the extroverted, I already knew about the joy of canceled plans, of saying no.
Like, so you had plans, but then someone cancels them and you're like...
Or just saying no to begin with, either way.
Okay.
So just the idea of like, I'm not afraid that I will miss a good time. I recognize that sometimes just resting or whatever is part of the joy. That's a good thing. Yeah. You're never going to get a toddler to believe that. But also, if Sammy doesn't take a nap, I mean, he'll be okay, but his emotions get the highs get real high and the lows get real low real fast from like 4:30 on.
Yeah.
Like he just, because he's tired, because he's like a finite person. And the truth is like, I'm the same way. If I am tired or if I'm very cold, I don't know why, but that's a trigger for me. I am not going to be my best self. Steven, when we first got married, I used to keep snacks in my purse all the time, because when that man gets hangry, it is over. Like we're leaving, turn the car around, because he would self-admit this. I'm not just talking behind his back on the podcast. That wouldn't be very nice. We're finite people who need things like rest and healthy meals and, regular time to recharge our batteries, whatever that looks like. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of that is supposed to be held in the context of, we're not the ones who run the universe.
Yeah.
We like to put ourselves center. And a lot of things around us tell us we should. And maybe this depends. You might have more insight in this. I mean, my personality type, I tend to just sort of take over. Some people would call it bossy. I would call it leadership skills. I don't always want to. I don't even mean to.
Yeah.
But I want things to be organized. I want things to be and so I tend to like sort of, if I don't feel like it's happening, especially, I will kind of just start to insert myself, or even when it is, I just want to be in the conversation because I want to know. Mm-hmm. And it can be really exhausting if you always have to be sort of the hub of the wheel. Mm-hmm. And so recognizing the way that, we're not here to fix the universe. That's not our job, but it's something that God is doing, that God is always at work. We get to be a part of that. Yeah. What a blessing and a gift. We are not the whole of that, nor is it ours to conduct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I had something ran across my brain, but now it left. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
The irony yesterday of like how tired I was too, preaching that sermon. I thought about it afterwards. We'd had such a busy weekend with good stuff, celebrating graduations and also just like, I needed a rest. Yeah. Knew it was coming. Like, I mean, we all took naps Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Sammy slept for 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was. And then he went to bed like still the normal time. Wow.
So it just hit me. And what I'm about to say is sort of going to be true, especially next week and the following weeks. But like, I think, and I don't know how to do this yet. I'm sort of speaking out loud, so you may know how to do this.
Most people don't speak in quiet. You thinking out loud?
I'm thinking out loud.
Sorry.
But now I'm going to speak out quiet. Okay, here's my idea.
I love it so much. What a goober.
Well, so like for especially younger kids, but this is still true for teenagers, like it's sort of an adult thing, and this isn't always universally true, but it's still mostly an adult thing to feel like you always have to be in control, like because you're right. So like so I think there's a sense in which you have to learn that later in life as you have more things into your plate, mm-hmm. and to realize, no, God's in control. It's okay to like let go, because mm-hmm. you're already sort of doing that. Your parents are providing you meals and food and housing and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. But I do think like what is true is we are so wired to earn rest, as we have said, and that like how do we cultivate within our kids that your worth is not in your production? Mm-hmm. Sabbath is one way amongst many that says your worth sits outside of what you've produced this week and mm-hmm. how good it was. Mm-hmm. And the need to, or the invitation to rest is also not tied to whether you've earned or done enough, mm-hmm. because we work, because we go to school, because there are areas in which it's true, like you've earned a rest, you've earned a break. Mm-hmm. It's not like that's necessarily bad, but when it comes to this idea of Sabbath, if we tie it together, like kids may not struggle right now mm-hmm. with have I done enough to earn rest, because they may not earn it, but they can, hopefully can start building within them this idea of Sabbath is not a reward.
Yeah.
For a week done well.
Yeah.
And who you are as a kid, as a child of God, your value is not in your production this week, or your grades at the end of a year, or how well you competed in that sporting event or with that band event or whatever, name the area. Like Sabbath is one of those areas in our faith that says, without doing anything, God sees you as good, and you can just rest in that.
There's just such a core, for me, theological principle in that.
Yeah.
That our belovedness is not based on our production, our behavior, our personality, our anything. Mm-hmm. Our value, our worth, our belovedness, our humanity, all of that is just inherently given to us by God. In whatever way, shape, or form we find this. This is going to end up being too long, but I'm going to say it and then we can decide if we want it to be. One of the things that I always think about when I am talking about resting is people who have different abilities, handicaps, whatever, right? So I probably should check with my sister, but I'm going to talk about her for a second. My sister has a chronic illness. And so she's taught me about this thing called the spoon. I think it's called the spoon theory. Have you ever heard of this? Mm-mm. So people who have chronic illnesses habitually have things like they just have a limited amount of energy because their body's always having to work extra, right?
Yeah.
And so they have so many spoons that they can use in a day.
Yeah.
And once those are done, then it's done. They have so much energy they can have. And when it's done, it's like hardcore done. There's no reaching deep, right? Yep. And so they have to make a decision about where that energy goes.
Yeah.
I would fight someone on the street if they tried to convince my sister that she is less valuable because she has less physical energy than somebody else.
Yeah.
That is nonsense.
Right.
But we do this all the time to ourselves. I'm so tired, or I can't keep up, or whatever.
Yep.
Right. Or I'm just not good at that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we tie that to our value, and it's just not true.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other dark side of how we think. Like we think, well, we're just pursuing excellence, or we're trying to offer our best, and that's a lovely idea. But the reverse side of that is, then if I'm not optimal for whatever reason, or whatever somebody else has decided is optimal, then I am inherently less valuable.
Yeah.
And that is not at all true theologically.
Yeah.
Or how we view people in
or we make up this narrative. There's someone else out there that is doing this.
Yes.
And why can't I be like in? Yeah. I think so. I think what we're talking about now, if as parents we can instill that. Here comes our return theme in the long game.
Yeah.
When your kid's 35.
Yeah.
And you wish that your 35-year-old kid, when they have a family, has a good work-life balance, that begins now instilling in them that their worth and value is not tied to their production.
Yeah.
And even if your kid doesn't rest when they're 35 and they need the gift of Sabbath, maybe more intentionally, what we do now can help that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And setting that culture as a family, I think, will only add goodness.
Yep.
Individually and as a family.
Yep.
So you get to enjoy each other more.
Yep.
And enjoy your time together.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. I think it seems like really, and I kind of felt that way when I was preaching on Sunday, that it was sort of like, I don't know what the right word is, like routine, just flippant. You need a rest.
Yeah.
But there's some really difficult underside stuff to that, that sometimes you have to say the quiet part out loud. And that quiet part can be really insidious, and it can tell us something really untrue about who we are as people and how God views us as people or values us or whatever.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And we have more to talk about with it.
We have a lot more to talk about.
Because we still got 2 more Sundays in this series, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So next week we're going to talk about this coming Sunday.
This upcoming Sunday is really about it's sort of last week was rest. This week is reorder. And what's it look like to take the Sabbath seriously, and how, if we sort of prioritize that, how that reorders a lot in life, and why that's so important in the value and benefit of that. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then the last week we'll be talking about Sabbath as a form of resistance in our world. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting and timely.
Yeah. And I will say, for anyone that remembers the Slow Down, Do Less, Live More series back in February, that series was a lot about kind of rhythm and pace and slowing down. And so it feels like intentionally left off Sabbath because
it is separate.
It's separate. I feel like it needed more breath than just one Sunday. It kind of ties to that idea that we had talked about earlier this year, but it really sits with it a bit more intentionally. And at this time when we're going into summer break. So if you're kind of going, haven't we talked about this? Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
But it's also like this thing it is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think sometimes we don't take it as seriously because we feel like it feels like legalism to take Sabbath seriously. And we see all these stories of Jesus, and I think we're looking at one of them this week, if not the next. Okay. Kind of like working on a Sabbath and him. Yeah. You know, but I think it's really important to take it seriously, and I think you got us started there, and we'll continue going down that road.
Yeah. So we just want to look this week as you're, thoughtfully considering what Sabbath and rest mean. Look at some of these undercurrent ideas that you might have, and think about or just examine your schedule. Just look at it. And then I think you'll be in a better place for this coming Sunday to really look at what does it mean to reprioritize.
Yep.
So hopefully that's helpful for your family for this summer. And hopefully you got a rest this weekend. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you found some inspiration and encouragement for yourself and for your family. If you'd like to get our weekly podcast delivered directly to you, you can subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. For more information about Katy First and the gazillion events that I feel like we have coming up, you can go to our website at katyfirst.org. I like how you presented that, you put it out on there. That's good. We want you to know that in the middle of your ordinary, messy life, whatever that looks like for you this summer, that you are not alone. You are doing a good job, and you are so, so loved.
And we'd love to see you on Sunday for second week of Sabbath and for communion. Until then, have a great week.